guys, TGIF. It's another Friday, which means another week of a 1-hour mat Pilates practice with me. Let's go ahead and get started. We will begin lying down on our back to start. Once you've made your way down onto the floor, we'll begin with the knees bent and feet grounded, taking that time to really line the knees and feet up with your hip bones, making sure the feet run parallel. Your arms are stretched all the way down beside you. They're angled slightly away from the body, and your palms are facing up so that your shoulders then roll open, lightly pressing backs of shoulders to ground to broaden your chest, and reaching the crown of your head to the back of your mat so you have a nice elongated cervical spine. Your chin is going to land about this distance away from your chest here, and the eyes will softly close to allow the focus to be brought more inward. We'll begin to connect here our mind and body through breath work. So let's begin by taking a deep inhale through the nose. Soft and steady exhale through the mouth. Again, breathing in deep, making sure to fill all the way up. And then a slow, steady exhale, making sure you empty out completely. All the way down to the very bottom. Then as you breathe in, it pulls from the pit of your belly, fills into the ribs, pulls up to the top of your chest. Pause, breathe there to hold. Then when you exhale, I want you to empty from the top of the chest, press down through your ribs, squeeze it out through the lower belly. Begin to feel those lower deep abdominal muscles engaging to push out. Breathing in, your ribs expanding out. Think of your midsection like an accordion, fill with air. And then squeeze it out, exhaling. Feel the ribs actively knit back to the midline of your body. An easy inhale through the nose will keep. But now a much more forceful and audible exhale out through the mouth. This is going to start to physically change your midsection. When you breathe in with ease, the belly rises, it fills, it's relaxed. When you force the breath out with power, the muscles in the abdominal region begin to activate. Contract your core. Feel the belly really firming up, navel drawing down towards your spine. I'd like you just to continue to keep up with this breath. Build up the relationship between that and your powerhouse. Feel the difference in sensation between your inhalation and exhalation. And see if you can pull your abs in more deeply each time you breathe out. Let's stay here for 3 more cycles of breath. In this time, really just staying present, mindful and focused, clearing the mind out of all other things. One more here. After that last cycle of breath, going ahead and gently opening up the eyes. Once eyes have opened, when you breathe in next, you're going to slowly turn your head and look over the right shoulder, as far over as you can turn it. And then as you exhale, you're going to switch, slowly bringing the head over to your left shoulder. Inhale, the head slowly swivels to the right shoulder. And then exhaling over to the left shoulder. Let's do one more in each direction. Make sure that as you travel through, your head stays in contact with the floor the entire time. Getting a nice rotational movement for the cervical spine. And we'll return our head back to centered space. Once the head has centered, we're next going to interlace fingers, take the hands to the back of the head, and we want to cup the base of our skull, making sure that our neck is free. Then we're going to lift elbows to the sky. You really want your arms to closely frame your head throughout this next stretch. Getting into the backside now, breathe in to prepare. Keep your head heavy. When you breathe out, use your hands to lift the back of your head off of the ground as you press your chin right down into your chest. And gently release the head to the floor again, breathing in. So remember, your arms, your support system. Again, as you breathe out, back of head, back of neck, lift off the floor. Chin presses right into the chest. You should feel this at the back of your neck, traveling down through the shoulder blades. Let's return back to the ground again. Breathe in. Let's take one more. Next. Inhale, you return back to the ground. Then as you exhale, you let your hands release. You'll lift your arms to the sky, palms faced in, hands shoulder width apart. We're going to work next on the mobility of our shoulders. When you inhale, I'd like you to feel the backs of your shoulders lift away from the ground as your fingertips reach closer to the sky. We're kind of shrugging up here. And then as you exhale, I want you to plug and root those shoulders back towards the earth. So they're pulling away from their sockets on an inhale, releasing out, and then reconnecting, breathing out. 2 more times. Notice when you reach up, the chest starts to close off a little bit. Arms become a little bit more narrowed. When you anchor down, the arms widen just a bit, as does the chest, keeping it nice and open. 1 more time. Reach high. Generally, we want to avoid this during our practice due to the close off. And then we want to maintain an anchoring to keep us open. Let's keep the anchor. As we inhale now, slowly start to reach both arms behind you to the back of your workspace. Breathing out, circle the arms out and down. Inhale again, as the arms reach back, you want your ribs to seal in tight. You want your spine imprinted to the ground and your belly firming up. Sweep out and down. And when you circle the arms down, you want to keep them either in contact with the ground or as close to the floor as you can. Let's do this again. Overhead, belly firming, midsection supported and secure. As wide as you can take the arms, and then feel those fingertips reach down to your heels. Let's do that once again. Feeling this movement really stemming from your shoulder joints. Sweep out and down. And then once the arms are here, I want you to actively press them to the floor. I'd like us to work next on a subtle core exercise, meaning we don't really have to use our abdominal strength, but we want to train our body to do so through marching. When you take a breath in, I want your right foot to lift off the ground. The leg stays in its same shape. You just want to pull the knee towards your chest. And then breathing out, tighten up your belly, squeeze the air out, and slowly return that foot to the ground with control. Then the left foot lifting off, breathing in, knee draws towards body. And then exhale, using your abdominal strength to control the lower. 3 more to each. We want to avoid our hip flexors from taking over, which is a common thing that happens. So make sure that there's no grip in that area, but it does stem from the lower belly region. So it can be kind of challenging for our bodies to recognize the difference between the two. So take your time to really feel it out. Sometimes it's nice and helpful closing the eyes and visualizing that area of your body as a really bright color. Sometimes that can help us to engage more deeply. One more each. Right leg pulling in. Right foot coming back down. Make sure it doesn't drop in quickly. Guide it in slow. Once more here. Left foot coming off the floor. Knee pulling in. And then belly firming to control the lower. So the leg doesn't really do much of the work. Being guided down. Let's pull that right leg back in again, but this time let's hold on to the knee rather with both hands. Let's stretch the left leg to the ground with a flexed foot. Using both of your hands, I want you to hug your right leg in closer to your body, which helps to stretch your glutes and your lower back. Make sure here though also that your shoulders actively pull away from your ears. Staying in this hugged stretch, I'd like you to start to draw circles with your right foot just to kind of warm up the ankle. Rolling it out. But let's reverse direction. Beautiful. Take that foot into still. Let's extend the right arm out to its side next with the palm turned up, the back of the shoulder pressed down. Using your left hand to help guide you, start to cross your right leg to your left side while looking over the right shoulder, entering and easing into a spinal twist. So that doesn't mean we necessarily arrive here right away. It takes a few to even several rounds of breath to really settle in. So take your time, allowing your exhales to really melt you more into space. Where can you become heavier? Where in the body can you let go? But still maintaining your anchor, which is the back of your right shoulder. Take a deep breath in to expand your midsection. Strong breath out to let it go. Let's stay in twist. One more breath in. Engage your abdominals as you breathe out to slowly unwind the body. Return back to center, and then let that right leg release, stretching it out to meet your left with a flexed foot. Then the left leg pulls in, both hands will hold on. You'll hug the leg to body. Your shoulders will pull away from your ears. You'll hold the stretch and feel it in the back side now. Glute, lower back region on the left side. Staying in this space, let's now circle the left foot. Roll out the ankle. Reverse direction. Wonderful. Then take the foot into still, extending your left arm to its side now, palm up, shoulder down. Slowly begin guiding your left leg over to your right side while looking over your left shoulder, spinal twist. Make sure that you still have a nice bend in your left knee, and think about almost trying to pull that leg in closer to your torso. That's going to help to start to stretch a little bit into the outer hip as well. Big breaths in. Steady breaths out. Let's stay here twice more. Last one here, breathe in all the way. Contract your core, then unwind slow. Return back to center as you breathe out. Then once you've centered yourself, you're going to bend your knees, ground your feet again, realigning knees and feet back with your hip bones. Make sure here also your ankles are stacked beneath your knees. We're going to interlace our fingers, take hands to the back of the head again, but this time instead of the elbows pointing the sky, I want you to feel your elbow points reach from one side of the room to the other, keeping those arms nice and wide. Let's take an inhale to prepare. I want you to firm up your belly, and then as you breathe out, I want you to slowly peel off the ground your head, your neck, and your shoulders. Look towards your navel, but keep your arms wide. Return to the floor again, breathing in. So it's going to be tempting for our elbows to pull forward on us. So when we lift up again, breathing out, feel the energy of your arms pulling back instead. The lift might be smaller, but much more effective for your core. Return to the ground again, breathing in. Now I want you to focus on your pelvis, keeping it neutral. So as you lift up, I want your tailbone to root to the ground. And when we root our tailbone, it activates more our lower abdominal region, which is tricky to strengthen. Let's return down, breathing in. Again, squeeze out that breath to the very bottom. Inhale for the return. Let's take two more. Releasing down, breathing in. Last one here. Arms wide, tailbone grounded. Peel it up slow. And then return to the floor on an inhale. Then release your hands, take your arms beside you, exhale. So we're kind of mixing in a little bit of abdominal strength and strengthening with our stretching as well. Let's next get into the outer hips and the glutes. Right ankle is going to cross over left knee. Let's flex the foot to give that leg energy. We're going to use the energy of our leg to push the leg out. You can even use your hand at the right inner thigh for assistance if you'd like to. Once your hip, though, has opened, coming into any variation of the stretch that works best for your body. If you are choosing to hold up your left leg like I am, check your shoulders in relation to your ears. Also check to make sure your tailbone isn't pulled up it is also rooted down in this space. And in fact, your tailbone is going to be an anchor for many stretches and exercises today. So just be mindful of it as you work through. I want you to feel and notice how your right hip is in the moment. And then from here, I want you to slowly begin to rock side to side. Really take your time here. And I want you to notice how the right hip stretch starts to shift and change. Noticing the difference when you're shifted and leaning more to the left versus how it feels when you're leaning over to the right. Continue to work side to side. You may decide a lean and a hold is what your body needs, and you can certainly come to this space as well. Let's stay in this spot for 3 more cycles of breath. And without rushing to get there, once you have completed your 3 cycles, returning your body to a centered position, then go ahead and let that stretch release. We're going to work to the other side next. Left ankle crossing, foot flexing, the energy of that in the leg to push out on to open up hip space. Again, once your hip has opened, you can come into any variation on this side that you'd like. Don't feel like you have to do the same position you did on your last side. It can be something different. So take a moment to really shift your attention over to your left hip. Feel it out, and then start to offer some shifting and movement. Slow. If we work too quickly, our mind doesn't really have the chance to really catch up to how it's changed. Breathe deep into that space. Not only is your tailbone rooted down, but also feel your sits bones trying to stretch and reach out to the front of your mat space. And we'll take 3 more cycles of breath here. And remember, your movement doesn't have to keep. You can angle yourself and hold as an option as well. Upon completing those 3 cycles on this side, return to stillness and center, release your stretch, and take both of your feet back to the floor again. Taking the moment to realign with your hips. We're going to take our hands behind the head once again. This time, instead of a straightforward abdominal curl, we're going to be focused on rotational movement, which will start to fire up and activate our obliques, our waistline. There's a couple of ways you can do this. You can, as a modified variation, start with your head at ground and then take a lift and twist and then return to the ground when we center up. Or to bring more heat to it, you can have your head and shoulders lifted and try to keep the head level while we work through. Either one here, we want to take a breath in right at center. When you exhale, just a small little twist over to the right. Return to center, breathing in, again, lifted still or taking your head back to the floor. Then we'll take a rotation to the left side. And then return back to center. We're going to do 3 more to each. Overall, it's really just from your tips of shoulder blades up that has movement. Everything else from the tips of the shoulder blades down stays sturdy and still. So be mindful to control this, to isolate to a section of your body. As you take your twists, you want to imagine that your midsection is like a wet towel and you're just wringing out the water. I think we got 1 more to each side. Good. Breathe in through center. Twist it over to the left. Good. Return back to center when you inhale. Release down slowly. Remove the hands. Take the arms beside you. Exhale. So again, just kind of warming into our powerhouse region. We're going to next work on stretching the backs of our legs. Let's take our right leg lifted to the sky. Hold from behind with both of the hands. And then again with our tailbone, anchoring it to the floor. Start to actively push the back of your leg into the hands as if you're trying to press the leg away from your body. Maintain that energy. Then use your hands to pull in, bring the leg a little closer to body. But you always want to feel the fight of the energies, back of leg pressing into the palms of hands and vice versa. Check back in with tailbone, as sometimes it does like to peel up. And make sure that the back of the leg is nice and long, that there's no bend in the knee. Holding on to this stretcher, I'd like you now to flex your right foot, which will bring in a calf stretch. And then pointing the toes, which gets to the shin and the top of your foot. Again, heel to sky. And then point the toes. We'll do that once again, guys. Flexing of the foot. Pointing of the toes. We're going to keep our toes pointed here. I want you to release your leg, take the arms beside you, and then since we were in stretch, the leg is pulled in a bit too closely. So we kind of pull it away just enough so the knee stacks above the hip. Then we're going to externally rotate the thigh from here, keeping a stiffness into that right leg. When you breathe in, I want you to slowly begin to lower that right leg towards the ground. And then as you exhale, firm up your belly, use your core strength to pull that leg back up to stack again, knee above the hip. Again, coming down with resistance. So feeling as though your leg were moving through molasses. Slow pull up, make sure that you don't use any momentum or swing. Pause here, breathe. If you want more intensity, we're going to do 4 more. You can bring your left leg to tabletop and or lifting the head and shoulders. Last set of 4 here. Come down on an inhale. If you're choosing to reposition your body like I had, you have to be very mindful your left knee doesn't start to pull in towards you. Coming down slow. Big breath out to lift. 2 more times. Last one here. Coming down nice and slowly. Reach out through those toes. Find more length. Lift. Once you've lifted, bring the knees in. If your head was up, take it down and just rock gently side to side. So if you had repositioned your body for the last 4 sets there, what you're doing is relying on your abdominals then to hold up that one leg, keeping it steady and still, holding up the head and shoulders. So your core is kind of doing multiple things in that space. All right, let's take our feet to the ground just to realign them. Then from there, let's lift our left leg high to sky, hold on from behind, anchor your tailbone. Push energy of the leg into the hands, maintaining it, but meeting it, hands pulling the leg in closer. So remember, not bending the knee. If we bend our knee, we totally lose the stretch to the back of our leg. So you always want to imagine the back of your knee pushing up to the front of your mat. Soften shoulders if they've strained up to your ears. In this space, we're going to now flex the left foot, heel to sky, and then point the toes. Again, flexing of the foot and pointing of the toes. We'll do that once again, heel to sky. Point the toes and then keep your toes pointed. Hands are going to release, arms are going to come down. The leg pulls a little bit more forward and the thigh externally rotates. First 2, we'll do simple. We're going to lower the left leg nice and slowly towards the ground. And the level of lowering is up to you. Closer to 4 more heat. Keeping it a little bit higher up has more modification to it. Lift the leg as you breathe out. Again, coming down with resistance. When you lift your leg, be mindful that you don't pull it in too closely. Again, the knee will land above the hip. We're taking 4 more, so you do have the option to reposition your body for more intensity, coming down. But if so, make sure that right leg doesn't lose its 90-degree angle. It's going to be tempting for it to pull in closer to you. Again, coming down slow. Two more times, keep those arms open wide. Beautiful, one more time here, coming down. Once you've stacked, bring the knees in, head lowers if it were up, and we just kind recover here, rocking if you'd like, or stillness if you prefer, or any other movement that feels best for your body. All right, so we've got our core fired up here. I want us to go next into a leg extension series. So let's come back into stillness. Let's keep the knees drawn in towards our chest, and then we're going to release our arms down beside us, fully lengthened down, firmly pressed into floor. We're going to take a breath in. Breathing out, both of your legs begin to slowly reach away from your body, pointing through those toes again for more length, always. Bring the legs back in again on an inhale. So as you're extending here, closer to the sky has more heat, closer to the ground has more intensity. Just make sure the legs don't go too low. We do not want our back to arch off of our mat space, so keep your spine imprinted. We're going to do 2 more of these before adding on. Take the entire exhale to get here. So at the bottom of your breath out, you finally arrived. Long legs. Draw in as slowly as you extend. One last time before adding on. Reaching away through the toes, reaching also out through your hips. Draw the legs back in again and lift up the arms. Stack them above your shoulders. Now as you breathe out next, legs extend and arms pull down to a hover in front of you. Stiff like a board they are. Bring the knees in, stack up the arms. So you want your arms and legs to move in unison. They arrive at both endpoints together, not one before the other. So it does take some time to coordinate that. We're going to do 2 more here. Good, bring it in, stack it up. Last one before adding to this one. Good, knees in, arms stack, inhale. Now as we exhale, legs and arms move and our head, neck, and shoulders peel up. Bring it on in, bring it on down, stack it back up, inhale. So now our whole body works as one. Coming in it together. Draw in, stack up, lower down, 2 more times. Lifting from your midsection, not your neck. Bring it down, stack it up. Once more. Lifting, we're gonna go right into our hundreds, pumping those arms and inhale for 5, 3, 4, 5, and exhale for 5. Good, here's 20. If you need to readjust, you can take your head to the floor. Here's 30, or you can even bring your legs to tabletop. Good, here's 50, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale. Good, 60. Exhale, I think I went 10 over, 70, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, I think I missed a 10. Good, here's 80. Exhale. Good, here's 90. Strong arms, 4, 5, exhale. Let's do 2 more sets just in case. Inhale. Exhale. Last 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, exhale, 2, 3, 4, 100. Bring it in and recover. Gets the body a little fired up, a little bit warm. Blood pumping, heart rate up. Let's take a little twist here. Draw your knees over to the right, look over your left shoulder. Good, slowly switch sides. We did a fair amount of core in that one little segment, so just stretching it out. Okay, let's return back to center, bending knees, grounding feet. We're going to give our, we're not going to give it a break, but we are going to focus a little bit more on strengthening the lower half of our body, with our abdominal region being kind of secondary in strengthening. Bridge work. We're going to work kind of different areas, focusing on different areas with different sets of bridges. So we're going to start with a classic one. Knees and feet hip width, ankles slid beneath the knees, arms down beside us really closely in and pressed in firm. Your arms are actually a part of this exercise and pretty important. It's going to help to lift your hips. It's going to help to stabilize your lower back and support it, and to strengthen, of course, the arms. So let's press them down, breathe in. Then exhale, push the feet into the floor, press the hips up. And as we lift up our hips, we don't want to lead with our ribs. We want those ribs sealed in nice and tightly to body. And roll back down on inhale. Make sure you articulate your spine like it were a string of pearls. Again, breathing out, arms and feet press down, hips lift up, your glutes squeeze. Your thighs are active, your hamstrings working. Roll back down, breathing in. We're gonna do 4 more. Imagine you had a little ball between your knees so that when you lift up your hips, you're lightly squeezing that imaginary ball and that will activate those inner thighs. Roll back down on an inhale. 3 more. Roll, breathing in. 2 more times. As you do come up, you do want the shoulder blades to still be in contact with the ground. Roll down, breathing in. 1 more time here, breathing out, lifting up hips. Then we're going to keep the hips lifted in this space. When you take your next inhale, I want both of your heels to lift up nice and high. Pop them over the balls of your feet. And then exhale, bring the heels down, but don't let your hips sink. Again, heels high on an inhale. Slide my feet back a little. Heels down on the exhale. We're going to do 2 more here. Heels up, breathe in. Feel the energy of your hips pressing up as the heels are rooting down. Energy in opposing ways. Once more, heels lift on an inhale. We're going to keep our heels lifted. Now we're going to pulse our hips up. Good breath. 5, 4, 3. Good. 2, 1. Take the heels down, soften the ribs, and roll down. Woo. With our heels up, it really starts to fire up the quads and the hamstrings on that one. All right, our next set, we're gonna walk our feet together. So our ankles connect, maybe our calves touch, our knees press together, our thighs squeeze tight together. For this next set, you want to imagine that you have a penny pinched between your knees and you do not want that penny to slip out. Because our legs are together for this one, the lift of our hips will more than likely be smaller than the last one we just did. And that's to be expected as it then can keep your lower back from compressing. Arms in close, pressed in firm, legs squeezed tight. Take a breath in. Then exhale, lift your hips up. Do not let that penny drop out. So hug those knees together tight. And then we roll back down. So we're really focusing on activating and strengthening our adductors, the inner thigh muscles. So again, pinch the legs together, lift up the hips, squeeze into your glutes. And then roll back down on an inhale. We're going to do 4 more of these. 4. Roll down. 3 more. 2 more times. Pinch, pinch, pinch that penny. Don't let it fall out. Roll back down. It can be kind of tricky to do. Let's do it again. Lift up the hips. Keep them lifted. Then pulse them upward. Squeeze those legs nice and tight. Use your arms. 5. Keep hugging. 4. Keep breathing. 3. Keep pulsing. 2. Squeeze. 1. But slowly take it back down. Once you've come back down, taking your knees and feet back to your narrow stance, hip bone width distance. You're going to keep your feet that distance apart. I want your knees to come out a little bit wider. When our knees open a little wider, then I'd say a little bit wider than shoulder width apart. What tends to happen is the inner edges of our feet start to peel and lift off the ground. So energy-wise, inner edges of feet pushing to ground, the outsides of your knees energy-wise pressing out. This is going to activate outer hips and glutes for our last set of bridge. Breathe it in big. Exhale, squeeze your glutes, press those hips into a bridged position. Knees will always stay wide, feet will always stay narrow and planted. Roll back down, breathe in. Also make sure when you did open your knees, your feet did not externally rotate. They're still running parallel to each other. Again, exhale, inner edges of feet press down as the hips lift up, the energy of your knees try to press out. So there's a lot of energy points to this. Come down on your inhale. We're going to do 4 more. 4. And roll back down. 3 more. Arms push in, feet press down, hips press up. Roll down, breathing in. We've got 2 more here to go. Good, coming down, breathing in. One last time here, we're going to lift up our hips. We are going to keep them lifted, and we're not going to move our hips from here. We're going to move out our knees, pulsing out, out, out. 5, keep the hips steady. 4, arms. 3 are strong. 2, pump out. 1, and then roll back down to the earth. Once you have, take the soles of your feet together, let the knees open up. Take your hands to your inner thighs. I want you to lightly press down and out on your legs to open your hips, to stretch your inner thighs and your groin. If you want a little bit more intensity for this stretch, you can do this with your legs lifted off the ground, grabbing your feet or your ankles, pulling the feet to you, pressing the knees away, but just making sure, again, your tailbone is rooted to floor. Take some deep inhales and some steady exhales. Again, breathe in big. Breathe it out. Once more here, inhale. As you breathe out, release the stretch, bring your legs together, and then stretch your legs to the floor. Both legs long, both feet flexed, and the thighs are rolling into, hugging into the midline of your body. Arms are going to reach to the back of your mat next, with the ribs sealed in tight and your pubic bone zipping up towards your navel. We're moving right into our roll-ups. Let's begin by inhaling, the lift starting, arms, head, and shoulders. Then exhale to slowly pull your body up to an upright seated position. Then you're going to take a slow but big fold over your legs. Continue to reach your heart up towards your toes, but let the head hang heavily through your arms. Stacking upright when you inhale. Tucking your tailbone, scooping your belly and rounding your spine, pushing out through the heels as you return slowly to the floor with control. Then we begin again. Start it on an inhale. Heart lifting to sky. We want good posture first, then a hinge from your hips to fold over your legs. Upright breathing in. Make sure that you always look straight ahead while you come down, breathing out. We'll do 2 more. If you ever need assistance on your way up, you can always take an elbow to the ground to help prop you, and then fold. If you're choosing to use an elbow for propping, just make sure you alternate which arm you use each cycle. Feel the energy of your arms almost reaching behind your ears as you roll back. It will make it a little bit more challenging for the abdominals to work for you so you don't fall back quick. Once again. We'll sit upright, breathing in. We'll stay seated on the breath out. We'll just lower the arms down at our sides. Moving next into spinal twist. I'm just facing forward so you can see me a little bit easier. You'll stay as you are facing the front of your mat. We're going to bring our arms into a genie position, one arm stacked on top of the other. You want your arms to pull up level with your shoulders. Once they are level with your shoulders, I want you at the same time to lift your chest to the sky and to pull your shoulder blades down your back. You get a little taller and the shoulders drop in. You can bend your knees a little bit here if you're finding that it's pulling on your hip flexors. And then just make sure your feet are still flexed and your legs are still squeezed tight. Let's take an inhale, get a little bit taller out through the crown of your head. Lead with your waist. Exhale, I want you to pull and twist yourself over to the right. Your arms are only moving because they're following, not because they're leading. Come back to center, breathing in. We lead with our waist. Pull to the left. Eyes work along the horizon. Come back to center. Check to make sure your shoulders didn't start to scrunch up to your ears. Get taller through your heart space as you rotate. Make sure your legs aren't shifting either, so your pelvis stays nice and stabilized and neutral. Center, breathing in. Much like we did rotations earlier, your torso like a wet towel. You're wringing out water. Return back to center. I want to do one more to each. Exhaling to the right. Inhaling to center. Once more here. Come back through center. When you breathe in, uncross the arms and just melt forward for a moment, breathing out. Let your feet relax, your upper body hang heavy. I want you to breathe into your backside, deep inhales, and then steady exhales. Again, breathe into your backside. As you exhale, slowly begin to roll and stack back up again, head the last to arrive. I want us to do one more seated exercise. I want to really focus on strengthening our upper body here, working a lot with our shoulders, with our pectorals, our chest, and for our upper back muscles, kind of all the muscles that surround the shoulder blades. So what we're going to do with our arms, we're going to bring them into a 90-degree angle. The angle of our arms is never, never, never going to change. How I like to start this is I like to bring my arms directly down beside me so that my elbows are stacked right beneath my shoulders. From there, I'm going to bend at my elbows. My palms are turned in, and I'm going to pull my wrists up to the level of my elbows. Noticing here that now my arms are in 90 degrees. We're going to keep that shape. All we're going to do is use our shoulder strength to pull the arms out to the sides to start. Your palms are facing down. So we're going to first on an inhale work into the shoulders by externally rotating through the shoulder joint so that our palms face forward and our fingertips lift up to the sky. Again, arms are still in 90 degrees. Then on our breath out, we're going to use our pectoral muscles to squeeze into, to pull the arms out in front of us towards each other. Then I'm going to use my upper back muscle strength to open the arms back up again, breathing in. Shoulder work again as I internally rotate. Remember, we're not leading with our hands or our elbows, we're leading through shoulder joints back to starting position. Sitting up nice and tall, don't lose that posture. Breathe in, we externally rotate, cactusing the arms out to the sides. Then exhale, squeeze into your chest to pull both arms out in front of you towards one another. Then upper back muscles to pull the arms out to the sides again. Exhale, internal rotation, turning the arms down through shoulders. 2 more times. Inhale, external rotation. Exhale, squeeze. So arms always stay frozen in this shape. Open the arms through upper back strength. Roll in, breathing out through the shoulder joint. Once more, breath in, external rotation. Squeeze on the exhale. Open wide on an inhale. Internal rotation on the exhale. From there, hug the arms in where they first started. Let the hands lower down. Beautiful. Roll out the shoulders, right? So there, in all of our exercises, there's always a mechanism of movement in our body, and really understanding where that movement is stemming from, being that kind of the shoulder joints to kind of keep those arms from losing their shape. All right, let's go ahead and swing our legs around, and we're going to transition to lie down on our stomach. We're going to work some still with our back body, working now a bit more into the middle back, the lower back, the glutes, and we'll do a full back body strengthener after. So making our way onto your stomach, we want the legs, of course, stretched behind us, and we want our arms to be extended forward in front of us. Your hands and your feet should be shoulder width distance apart, your palms facing down, and my head is lifted here so you can hear me, but you do want your forehead grounded on your mat. When your forehead is grounded, notice here your arms, for the most part, are framing your ears, and we never want that to change. So we want to think about lifting our body and lowering our body as one solid piece. We're going to be using our pelvic triangle as an anchor. So that are your two hip bones and your pubic bone. I want you to press that into the floor. That's going to stabilize your pelvis and protect your lower back, and it will aid in your lift. Take a deep breath in to prepare. As you breathe out, I want your arms, your head, and your chest to all lift as one piece. Remember, arms line your ears still. Cut back down to the floor, breathing in. We're strengthening upper and middle back muscles here. Exhale, arms, head, and chest lift up. And we come back down, breathing in. We'll do 4 more here. Press those hips down, lift it up. Lower, breathing in. Again. Come down on an inhale. 2 more times. Never lift up quick, always peel up slowly. Lower, breathe in. 1 last time. And then come all the way back down. Once you have, cross either your one hand over the other or one forearm over the other. And then rest your forehead on the hands or your arms like a pillow. We're going to travel all the way down to our lower back and our glutes. So your pelvic triangle is still your anchor. You're reaching back with your toes. Breathe in, press down. As you breathe out, squeeze your glutes and lift your thighs off the floor. Reach back with those feet. Come down on the inhale. Always activate your glutes first. Squeeze them in, then begin to lift up. Take it down, breathing in. We're going to do 4 more here. 4. Lower on an inhale. So did you know that the back side of your body, your glutes, your muscles that kind of surround your spine are also considered your core muscles? 2 more times. Squeeze and lift. So core is a 360 all encompassing of your midsection. 1 last time. Squeeze buns, lift legs, point back with your toes. Good. Slowly take those legs back down to the floor. Once your legs have lowered, we're going to uncross the arms again, extend them out in front of you, resting your forehead back to the ground. We're going to do a full body, a back body, full body and back body strengthener here. Hips pressed down, breathing in. Now on your exhale, I want you to lift everything off the ground together. Arms, head, heart, and legs. Lift, lift, lift. Come down, breathing in. Again, exhale, hips down. Everything else pulls up. Come down, breathe in. We're just going to do 2 more of these. Exhale, pull up all together as one. And then float back down as one as well. Once more here, lifting, holding your lift. Don't hold your breath, but begin to swim. You're going to paddle your arms and legs alternately. Keep your head steady, torso steady, and your chest lifted off the floor. 5. Keep on breathing big. 4. Keep on swimming big. 3, 2, 1. And then rest. Create that pillow again. Head to the arms. Bend your knees, lift your feet to sky. We're going to windshield wiper our legs. You can work either side to side or crisscross, whichever works best for you. Whew. So got that gets the heart rate up a little bit there as well. Let's go ahead and reach the legs behind and hug them together. Slide your hands underneath your shoulders very slowly, gently. Start to ease back into a closed-legged child's pose. When we keep our legs together, it does allow for our lower back to get stretched just a little bit more deeply. I also like to kind of wiggle my sits bones back, settling more deeply into the stretch. I want you to think about breathing into your lower back. Exhale it out. Again, breathe into the lower back. Exhale it away. Once again, inhale big.
Breathing out, slowly coming out of your child's pose.
Wonderful. We are going to transition next to lie down on our left side body, working into some outer hip strengthening. So once you made your way down onto your left side, you just want to make sure you're in a long straight line of energy and that you're stacked. Your legs are stacked, hips, your shoulders are stacked. Now take your right hand to your hip and point your elbow up to the sky. That elbow is actually fairly important. It's going to be tempting for that elbow to be shifting through our movement, which is an indication that not only the elbow is moving, but our hip, our shoulder, our whole body is kind of being shifted, when in actuality, we want to keep it stable. So just be mindful. We'll check back in with that elbow as we work through. Flex both of your feet, push through the heels. Feel the entire left side of your body press firm to ground. You're going to hover your right leg and you're going to roll it in just slightly. We want to make sure our toes don't angle towards sky. We want to make sure our toes always stay pointing straight forward. And we want to look straight on too, to line our neck up with our spine. Pull your belly in and up, and we begin. Breathe in. Breathing out, use your hip strength to pull that right leg up a little higher. Make sure, again, the thigh doesn't start to roll open. Hover the leg when you inhale. Isolate and control, just pulling that right leg up. Everything else should be like a statue. Hover the leg when you breathe in. We're going to do 4 more here. Each time your leg lifts, you should be activating, contracting your core. Hover, breathe in, check back in on that elbow. If it's pulled back, restack it. Lift, push through that heel. Hover down with resistance. 2 more times, lift. Good, pull it down to hover. Once more, we're going to lift up that leg. We're going to take that leg all the way down so that we can give it just a moment of rest, but also so that I can explain how we're going to set up that right leg next. Point the toes of your right foot. Now we're going to externally roll that thigh open. It's not going to be a huge shift. If we roll it up too far, our upper body starts to fall back. So again, be mindful you stay stacked as you do that. Once the thigh has externally rotated, we're going to take that right leg and pull it slightly out in front of us. Be mindful of that elbow. When you breathe in, I want you to tap your foot to the ground twice in front. Tap, tap, and exhale. I want you to lift that leg up as high as you can without anything else shifting. Then we're going to tap back behind us twice, breathing in, and then lifting up high. The front and back are really small. They're not too far forward. They're not too far behind, just enough to throw our body slightly off balance. So we do rely on our abdominal strength a little bit more here to provide stability. Our hip is working a little bit harder to lift that leg really high, but also to keep that external rotation of thigh. Let's do 1 more to each, 1 more to the front, tap, tap, pull up. 1 more behind us, tap, tap, pull up slow. Good, let's take that leg down so that the legs are shoulder width distance apart. Let's roll the thigh back in and let's reflex the foot. From here, we're going to pulse that leg using hip strength and using core to keep everything else steady. 5, good. 4, 3, 2, pump up. 1, good. Leg comes down slow. We're going to bend that knee to the ground in front and we're just going to tap, tap, tap out that hip. So sometimes it can be really challenging to isolate movement. So while we're just moving the one leg, what other body parts have to be engaged, muscles active to keep the body itself from wobbling around? So as we work through, just kind of check back in with your body. Are you still using your one side as an anchor? Are you keeping your core tight? All these things that can really help to improve your movements. All right, we're going to go ahead and transition to the other side. So however that's easiest for you, making your way onto your right side body. Lined up, stacked up, hand onto hip, elbow to the sky, pushing out through the heels. Now your entire right side of body that's on the floor, press it to the earth. Hover your left leg, roll it slightly in, and then look straight ahead. Let's start with that hip lift. Breathe in, preparing. Exhale, pull the leg up. And then hover it back down, breathing in.
Again, lift and hover. We're doing 4 more here. 4. Hover leg. Good. 3 more. Lift, belly firm. Hover. Check your elbow. Adjust if you need to. 2 more times. Pull up. Good. Hover down. Remember, feel that leg slightly rolled in when you lift it up. And then let's take it all the way down just for a brief release. But in the meantime, we'll also set back up again. So pointing the toes of your left foot to lock up the leg, external rotation of thigh, and then pull that leg out slightly in front. Now, when your leg pulls out, whoa, we tend to lean back. So be mindful, upper body did not do so. 2 taps when you breathe into the ground in front of you. Tap, tap. Pull up slow through hip strength. Tap behind twice on an inhale. Tap, tap. And then lift, really preventing the upper body from shifting, which is, again, challenging to do. So what is being used here? Hip, of course, core, but I am really pushing down into the floor with my right side. My arms pressing down. The outer edge of my right foot is pushing down to the floor. Really digging in. Tap, tap, pull. Behind, tap, tap, pull up. 1 more each to the front, the back. Then take the leg down so the legs are about shoulder width apart. They're lined up now with everything else. The foot reflexes. Pulsing, pulsing, pulsing. Micro lifts, everything else. Remember, just like a statue. 5, 3, 4. Pumping up. 3, 2, 1. Leg comes down nice and slow. Whew. We're going to bend the knee to the ground. I'm going to tap out to the hip here or roll it out, whatever feels best for you. We are going to stretch into our hips a little bit more. Just checking on the time to see what we have here for ourselves. Beautiful, just enough. So we're going to come up to seated to go ahead and stretch out those hips. However, that's easiest for you to get there. Once you've sat up here, you're going to take your right leg, pull it out in front of you in a 90-degree angle. Your left leg is going to do the same behind you. So that will mean your heel or your feet aren't pulled in closely to you. They're kind of pushed away. And then we're going to flex the feet to support our knees in this space. Taking our torso, we're going to square it up to that right inner thigh. We're going to tent the fingers, frame the leg, and push off the ground to sit up nice and tall. We're going to start to walk it out. Imagine your belly button. We're trying to reach and extend beyond your knee as you're folding forward. If we start to pull our body back, we've totally lost the stretch. So the length of your spine is really key here, not so much about the depth of which you can fold into. I'm just going to breathe into that right hip here. And then these are one of the stretches that over time you might be able to increase your depth by kind of melting more closely to leg when you breathe out, right? Allowing your body to get more comfortable with it over time. 3 more cycles of breath here. Good. After completing, begin to walk the hands slowly back in so the shoulders start to restack above hips, squaring your torso forward, and we'll switch sides. You're going to bring your left leg around to the front, right leg around to the back. If the leg behind you doesn't really work for you being bent in that position, you can instead just extend that leg out to its side instead. Flexing your feet, squaring up to that left inner thigh, framing the leg, tenting the fingers, pushing away from the ground width to sit up really tall. Then we walk it out. Length. So even though your hands are physically out in front first, imagine your heart were instead. Might find one end point. You might stay here for a moment. And then maybe over a few rounds of breath, you can start to deepen into that fold. And that's an option, but never a requirement for your body. We'll stay here for 3 more rounds of breath. And then upon completion of your rounds, walking back in, stacking back up, squaring forward. And once you have, your right leg is going to pull around to meet your left in a cross-legged position. We're going to ground our sits bones to the earth. We're going to lift our heart high to the sky. Our arms are then going to come down beside us, the palms turned up. When we take an inhale, the arms are going to reach out and lift to the sky with hands lightly touching above us. And then as you breathe out, pulling your hands down through midline to your heart space. And we're going to do that 2 more times. Breathing in, reaching down, out, and up. Hands connect above you. And then exhale, the hands pull within you, heart space. One last time here. Reach up high, breathe in, gather the energy between your arms, hold the energy above you, and then take that energy and bring it within inside you. Hands come to your heart, your chin comes down to your chest, and you close your eyes. You're bowed into yourself here in space. Just give yourself a moment to thank yourself for the work that you show up to do, that the dedication and motivation you have to your health and well-being, and that you take the time to really tap into, listen to, and understand your body, how it moves. Thank you guys again for always tuning in. Wonderful work, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed this one with many more to come. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon. Bye-bye.